Oh man, that sucked. Now that I have the tire off of the bike, I can find what actually happened to the tire. I have a nail right there. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it. It's a, looks like a framing nail that I must have picked up on the road yesterday after work. So now I definitely have to pull this tire off, throw a new tube in, and then since it's a pretty old tire, I'm not going to change it this time, but I'll change it the next time around. So to be honest, taking off the tire off of the bike was the easiest part. This is the hard part. So I'm going to put on gloves now, even though I should have put them on earlier, because this will get dirty. You're going to get dirty. Everything's going to be dirty. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the liner part of my Wolfie Trail Enduro tool bag there. You want to work sprocket side down because you'll bust your knuckles up on this, and also the rotor side of the bike is a lot more fragile. So first thing we have to do is we have to try to break the bead on this thing, but before I forget, loosen the valve stem nut, and I also have to loosen my rim lock, so that's where these come in. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen the rim lock with my Stockton tire iron. I don't know what size this is. It's a 10 millimeter, I think. Is that right? 10 millimeter? And then on the opposite side, actually it's a 12, and then oh, is it a 10? I think they're both 10s. Yeah, there you go. So the Stockton tire iron has, it has the wrench to pull off these two nuts. And even though even though my tire's flat, I want to make sure I remove that valve core so I can get any remaining air out of the tire, out of that tube. So I think I have a valve core removal tool somewhere in here. There's my rim lock. That's loose, so I can go ahead and press on that, make sure it's broken. Yeah, you can hear it pressing into the rim there. And then my valve stem has that nut loosened, and now you just got to pull that valve core out to let any extra air out. So for that, I'm going to use this little tool right here that came with my slime toolkit, and I just pull this out, so it just spins out essentially. And then she should be coming out now. There you go. And she just pulls out just like that. Alright, now this is the part that I absolutely hate. You have to break the bead. So what happens is the tire is seated on the rim in a way that makes it super tight and super stable. But I never know how to really do this without, you know, making myself look like an idiot. So typically I try to stand on it and then push. There you go. You heard that break? So sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So you got to break that bead. And now I can pull off my nut for my valve stem, and I have to break it on the other side as well. So I'm going to flip it and try to do the same thing on the opposite side. There you go. Perfect. So now she's broken. There is a part where it's not going to break because that's where the rim lock is. What that does is it keeps your tire seated on your rim. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm gonna flip her back over onto the rotor side of the bike. I always say that, onto the sprocket side of the bike, and I'm going to attack the tire at the rim lock. This is always the part that gets me, like pulling this off of here. So we're gonna squeeze our tire on the opposite side of the rim lock to try to get it to sit as far down into the rim as possible. And then we're going to work around our rim lock just to try to get it out. And then, so now that we have a little bite of it out, we can use our rotor to lock that into there. And now we're going to need our second spoon We're gonna get a little bite off the opposite side. Make sure we're underneath the tire, and then we're gonna lift. And of course it helps if you have some lubricant, but that's not always gonna be the case. So now that I have the rim lock free, I can keep working in the opposite direction, making sure I'm pushing down on the far end of my working space. So essentially you're just working from one side and you're applying pressure on the other, just working all the way around to try to get this tire out of the rim. All right, now we're gonna get our tube out of the tire by pulling up on our tube, pressing in on our valve, and then hopefully we can get it out. All right, so now that that rim, or that valve stem is out of the hole right there, I just pushed in with my fingers and then rolled it. I should be able to rip that tube out by just lifting it and then pulling it in between the space that's created by the tire and the rim. A couple minutes, just think about what you need to do and then do it. Because if you're frustrated and you just keep trying to pull it and pull it and pull it, you're gonna have an accident, or you're gonna make the work a lot harder than it needs to be. So now, as you can see, I'm just pulling that tube out of there. And then this tube is garbage right now, unless I wanted to actually patch it. And at this point, I'd patch it and then just try to feed it back into the bike, back into the tire. There's our hole right there. So that is definitely patchable because it's on the round side of the tire. It's not on the sidewall or anything like that. It's on the outer edge. So we could definitely patch that if we wanted to. Maybe I'll do a video on that later, but for right now, I'm just gonna try to get my bike back on the road and then just see what's going on the inside of this tire. So now that the tube is out of the tire, what we can do now is get the tire off of the rim. So we're gonna start on the side opposite of the rim lock. Rim lock is right here, so we're gonna start on this side. So this part's kind of tricky. I always end up hitting myself in the face at this point, just because it's kind of a frustrating point. But what we do is we have the rim lock on the bottom side of, like, pretty much almost on the ground, and then we're going to spoon the tire off of the tube from the side that is still on the tire, on the rim. So essentially you get it like this, you bite from the opposite side, press down on the rim, and then you kind of just try to hope to God you don't hit yourself in the nuts. There we go, now we're moving. All right, so now, oh gosh, all I had to do is just stop. Now all I gotta do is push the tire off of the rim. Just like this. Oh, okay. Whew. Here we go. God, that sucked. And now we're done with this. Let's go ahead and put this down. And let's go ahead and inspect our tire to see just how deep that nail went in. Yeah, there she is. So there's our nail, just sitting nice and happy in there. Let's go ahead and pull that out and then put a new tube in, put our tire back on. All right, so now that we can see our issue right here, let's go ahead and pull it out using some pliers, whatever we need to. We'll try with some needle nose first. There you go. She's out. Yep, that'll do it. Sucky, man. Found the source of the problem. It was a nail about a inch and a half long. Just managed to make it into my tire. Thank goodness, right? Now what we have to do is we have to check the integrity of our tire to make sure it's still good, that we can, you know, throw it back on. And of course, if we were trail side, we would have no choice. We would just have to throw it back on. But I'm gonna go ahead and check the inside of the tire for anything that might cause another puncture. And pretty much I'm just gonna run a towel through there, run a rag, just to make sure it's clean and ready to accept another tube. So this is my debate. I have a 21-inch tube, but I have an 18-inch rear tube that's flat. I thought I was just going to use that 21, but it's way too thin, and there's going to be a ton of material folded up, so I'm kind of worried about that. I don't know what I'm going to do, either patch that one or just buy a new tube or try to stuff that one in there and then have to replace it in 2 days because I'm going to be commuting. Oh man. I'm sure if I was just like on the trail or something like that, I wouldn't hesitate throwing the 21-inch tube in there just to get me home. But, oh man, it's my day off. I only have 1 day off, you know what I mean? Because that would suck to get a flat at work and then have to change it in the parking lot or get it towed home. I don't know what to do. Dang, that sucks.